All right. We haven't even started the live stream yet, and we've already got people with their hands up. We'll get to the hands in a minute. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Supernatural Saturday. I am your host, Praying Medic. We do these live streams here on Telegram on the second Saturday of every month at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And pretty soon that'll be a change for me because we don't do daylight savings time in Arizona and everyone else does. So I'll be skipping back to 10 o'clock instead of 11 o'clock my time. This is a live stream that I do, like I said, second Saturday of the month at 1 p.m. You can only get on the live stream on Telegram. After the live stream is over, I will post the replay in the Telegram channel on Rumble, on prayingmedic.com, on prayingmedic.org, and it'll be available on my podcast. Whether you listen on Podbean or Apple Podcasts or whatever, the audio version and the video version is actually available on Podbean. And if you want to download my messages, you can go to the podcast players and you can download the audio and the video files, just in case, we lose the internet someday and you want to have my messages. All right. Real quick, I want to thank our financial supporters, those of you who donate to support our ministry. We thank you a million times. We're going to be relying more on your donations in the coming days because our book revenue is going down a little bit. That's okay. Not the end of the world. We love and appreciate the financial support that you give us. We would not be able to do this without your financial support. If you want to support our ministry, we receive donations online through GiveSendGo. The address URL is givesendgo.com/PM. Tax-deductible donations, we receive them there. And if you would like to send us a check, and some people do support us with just check through the mail, go to prayingmedic.org and go to the donations page. Our address, our mailing address is there. And you can just email us, send us a check, and we accept donations by check. All right. You know what? I have one more announcement. We are still having a lot of complaints from people who are being scammed, mostly on Telegram, but also on other platforms. There's a lot of fake Praying Medic Twitter accounts. There are fake Praying Medic accounts on Telegram and on Facebook. And these frauds are contacting people through direct messages, offering to do classes for them, offering to call them and talk to them and do one-on-one training. And hey, it's only going to cost you $500. And hey, let me get you into the XRP gig here. Give me your credit card. I do not contact people privately on Telegram or X or Facebook. You're never going to receive a message from me out of the blue saying, hey, I noticed you were on my page, and I just want to know if you want to connect with me and whatever. We don't do that. If you receive a direct message from somebody who seems to be me, it's not me. If I only on Telegram, the only way you're ever going to receive a message from me is if I send you a notification in the Praying Medic channel and tell you in advance, hey, I want to know if I can send you a message. Check your DMs for a message for me. I will always notify somebody in the main channel, hey, I need to talk to you about something. Can I message you? Look for a message from me. I'll always let you know in the main channel before I send you a message. And there are a lot of scammers out there. Best way to contact us is through, and really the main way I communicate to people is through prayingmedic.com and prayingmedic.org, through the contact page. Hit the contact page, put in your email, put in your correct email address if you want me to respond to you. and then whatever your message is. Per requests, we receive per requests through email. I always respond to them. I try to respond within 24 hours, but when I'm working on books, sometimes it's 3 or 4 days. All right. Speaking of books, guess what? We have a new book out. It's called Meshtastic Made Simple. It's a pretty thin book, about 92 pages, and this book is about Meshtastic. Meshtastic is a low-powered radio type of radio and a mobile app that work together. The small radio and the mobile app work together on your phone to allow you to send encrypted text messages without using the internet, cell phone service, or Wi-Fi. It's just radio to radio, and that's how it works. It's a nice off-grid communication system if you're thinking that maybe one day we may lose the internet or lose cell phone service. Meshtastic is a good option, especially for creating local communication networks in your neighborhood. It's a really good option. That book, Meshtastic Made Simple, explains it all. We just published that about a week ago. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and other book outlets. And now, without further ado, we are going to get into the show today, which is going to be a question and answer and ask me anything. I'm going to take questions from people that are on the live stream. You can, if you have your hand, I see you, Michelle. I see you have your hand up. In the app, you can raise your hand. If you raise your hand, I assume you have a question you'd like to ask me, or you have a testimony about something cool that God did. You can ask me questions about anything, whatever you want. President Trump, Q, the deep state, the Holy Spirit, healing, whatever's on your mind. I'll entertain your question. If I have an answer, I'll try to answer it. If I don't have an answer, I'll tell you I don't know. This is not a place to complain and grumble about things that you don't like. How come no one's being arrested? All that. This is a place where you can ask a question. If you have a prayer request, put it in the chat. So go into the chat on Telegram, put your prayer request in the chat, and you'll have people praying for you on your prayer request. All right. Without further ado, even more further ado. All right, Michelle, you have your hand up, and if you can unmute yourself, Michelle Morton, what is on your mind this morning? All right, Michelle, you've got 5 seconds. hit the mute and unmute button, and looks like she bounced. Sometimes when you do that, you can actually kick yourself out of the chat. All right, nobody else has their hand up. Cool. Then I get to do a little monologue. All right. I wanted to, since nobody has their hand up, I wanted to share a couple of thoughts about what is happening geopolitically. There's a lot going on. And I've been posting on the Praying Medic News Telegram channel what is going on with President Trump, China, Russia, Iran, and a little bit going on in North Korea. And you know what I'm going to do is, Lynn B. Okay, Lynn, I see your hand is up. Well, give me a second and I'll get to you. Just keep your hand up, Lynn. All right. So there's a lot going on geopolitically. And I'll just say this up front. If you are under the impression that the threat of war, global war, is over just because Trump is in office, you may want to rethink that assumption. The threat of global war is not over just because Trump is in the Oval Office. I would argue that the threat of global war has actually increased now that he's in the Oval Office, because Joe Biden was a puppet of the Communist Chinese Party. Biden was compromised by China many U.S. politicians are compromised by China. And China has compromising information on them. They are leveraged, they're blackmailed. And Biden was pretty much doing whatever Xi Jinping told him to do. The exchange there was when Hunter Biden went to China and got a $1.5 billion investment into Bohai Harvest, one of his companies, from the Chinese government in exchange for, well, certain political favors. So now that Trump is in office and the tariffs are coming out, so President Trump is putting tariffs on China. Tariffs, he's going to tariff nations in the EU. He's going to tariff China. Goods coming in are going to get tariffed. And that's something that China has not been used to for the last 4 years. So now China is saying, oh, if the United States wants a war, we're ready to go to war, whether that's cyber war, economic warfare, or any other kind of war. So there's some saber rattling going on with China. I have concerns about the possibility of an actual kinetic war with China. I think it's something we should be praying about. I'll just say that. I'm continuing to have dreams about the possibility of war, about the possibility of the internet going down, cell phone service going down, the need to stand up alternative communication systems. I do not think the specter of war is gone just because Trump is in the White House. We've also got issues with Russia. So Trump is working hard to create a peace agreement with Russia and Ukraine to end the war in Ukraine. That's proving to be a little more difficult than he expected. Zelensky is not being very cooperative. Zelensky is taking orders from some bad people. And he's jerking the Trump administration around on this issue with the mineral rights. First, he says he'll sign the agreement. Then he says he won't. Then he meets with more American, diplomats, and he says, "Oh yeah, I'll sign the agreement." And then he says he won't. So Trump is getting the runaround from Zelensky. I think Putin is sincerely interested in making peace. However, now that President Trump has taken away Ukraine's ability to use advanced weapons systems and targeting targets deep inside Russia, that creates a strategic advantage for Russia. And again, I think this is a prayer point. We need to be praying into this, specifically praying that there is going to be a peaceful resolution to the war in Ukraine. It does not exacerbate and grow into something bigger. And then there's Iran. So President Trump was in the Oval Office, I think, well, let's see, it was either Friday or Thursday. And he was asked about Iran. And he said, we want peace with Iran. I sent a letter to the Ayatollah saying, hey, we need to have a peace agreement. And by the way, you're not going to have any nuclear weapons. That is a red line. And the Ayatollah responded saying he never got the letter. He doesn't take the U.S. seriously. He doesn't care about our threats, and they're going to do what they're going to do. Trump has basically said that he wants peace with Iran, but there is another alternative, and that other alternative is coming into view, and we're going to be hearing about it in shortly. I suspect Iran is about to lose its nuclear weapons program. I suspect that Israel and U.S. will go in there and just take out Iran's nuclear weapons, nuclear facilities, and the uranium enrichment facilities. I think they're going to lose all that in a military campaign. Another thing to pray about. I think we just need to be praying for peace every single day. There's so many different areas in the world where there's a potential for war. And I think the best thing we can do is to pray for peace in all of those situations. North Korea is another one. Kim Jong-un's sister has been saber rattling against South Korea, and Kim has been pretty quiet. Ever since Trump came back into office, Kim Jong-un has been quiet. There hasn't been a lot of missile testing going on. I don't know if Trump and Kim are talking in back channels. I suppose they probably are. Another potential place to keep in prayer that there will be peace on the Korean Peninsula. So I'm just want to put out there as a general statement. There's tons and tons of stuff that we need to be praying and interceding in with respect to geopolitical events. We just need, you can ask Denise every single day. I'm praying peace in North Korea, peace in Israel and Iran and China and Taiwan, all these hotspots. We just need to, my prayer is that the Lord will bring about his plans for peace in all those areas. All right, I'm going to land my plane there, and now we'll go to the hands. All right, Lynn B. Don't leave the chat just yet, Lynn. Lynn, if you can unmute yourself, what is on your mind?
I want to talk about the IRS.
IRS, okay.
I was having a conversation with my friend who owns several tax processing offices, and we were talking about the IRS, and he was sharing with me that his professor said that the IRS was not created so much for taxes, but to control Americans. So if you get out of line, you just get taxed. And I mean, that's how they've taken down many criminal organizations and the whole thing. And so Howard Lutnick was on Fox, and he was talking about how that the External Revenue Service was really being created to bring all the tariffs in so that Trump could get rid of the IRS. And so I would like to know your opinions on that, because I do believe that so far, whatever he said, he has done for the most part.
Yep.
And Trump has mentioned it 3 or 4 times now, maybe more than that. It's on his radar. What do you think about that?
All right. Really good question, Lynn. Thanks for jumping in here and asking. If you're following Trump closely, if you listen to his speeches at the rallies, you'll notice very, very distinct pattern of behavior. All right. If you want to know what's going on in Trump world, you have to notice the patterns of behavior that develop over a period of time. Trump will float an idea out of the blue at a rally. He'll say, maybe we should think about, the death penalty for certain crimes, for drug traffickers, for example. And when he started to float that idea at the rallies, it was kind of received with a mixed response. And he does a lot of A/B testing. Trump does. He'll float an idea out there and see he'll check the pulse of MAGA and see how we're going to respond to that on social media. Scavino and all of Trump's people, they're always on. Don Jr. particularly is really good about being on social media and evaluating how are people responding to these various things that Trump is bringing up. And so Trump started to bring up the issue of no tax on tips, and then he moved it to no tax on overtime, and then he moved it to, let's have no tax on Social Security. And I was like, eventually he's going to get rid of the personal income tax, and then he's going to get rid of the IRS. Like, if you look at the trajectories will tell you a lot. Look at where Trump starts on an issue, and then look at where he moves on that issue. What is the trajectory? It'll tell you where he's going in the future. And to your point, I think that Trump is moving in a direction where he wants to get rid of the IRS. This is not something you can just come out one day in front of the mainstream media and say, well, I've just decided we're going to get rid of the IRS. And that's it. End of discussion. You're going to have all kinds of blowback. You're going to have all kinds of economists and experts freaking out. You're going to crash the stock market. You can't bring an issue to the forefront of American culture that way. You have to slowly bring the culture up to speed on why you think we don't need the IRS anymore. Why would an external revenue service be a better option? Why would tariffs bring us more money than taxing ourselves through personal income tax? You have to give people like Lutnick and other experts time to get on social media, get on the shows, the news shows, get out on Twitter and Facebook, and explain to the public, look, we're not crazy people. We have a plan. Here's the plan. We believe that if we put these tariffs on, we can make as much money or more than we're bringing in personal income tax. And you have to get people to buy into it. I mean, everyone would love for the personal income tax to go away, but the question is, okay, how are we going to pay for all this stuff that we have to, spend money on, Defense Department and everything else, Social Security, Medicare, all those other expenditures. So I suspect that Trump is going to move us in the direction of potentially getting rid of the IRS and getting rid of the personal income tax at some point. I don't have any secret squirrel insider information. I don't talk to Trump or his people. It's just my own thoughts. I would love to see it. And I think we're going to see some radical changes in the way that government is done in the future. Just look at what Elon is doing with Doge. We're going to see radical changes, radical reformation, radical changes. There's going to be a lot of pushback from mainstream media and politicians, especially Democrats, who like the system the way it is because it advantages them. You'll notice that all of these things like Act Blue is suddenly in free fall and collapse. After USAID lost its funding, all of these Democrat operatives no longer have money. Politico doesn't have any money. All these news outlets, leftist news outlets now, are charging fees to access Reuters. Their news services that used to be free forever, now they're charging because their money got taken away. So we're going to see changes. And I think maybe the abolition of the IRS is going to be one of them. All right, good question. Thanks, Lynn. Let's see. We are going to go Pamela D. Pamela D, if you can unmute yourself, what's on your mind?
Hi, Dave. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So the president has done a lot of executive orders. But what happens at the end of his term? Don't we need to be making these things into laws?
Yes. Yeah. Some of them, but not all of them. Right. So, and you can stay on speaker here because we may have a conversation. So you're right. An executive order is not a law. It doesn't have the force of law. Whatever Trump is doing through executive order, ideally, Congress needs to come along and pass laws to support and reflect those ideas in the executive order. That makes it permanent, right? That said, there are some things the president can do through executive order that can't be undone. And here's an example. The FBI was created by an executive order. It was not created by the legislature. It was created by a presidential fiat, an executive order, and Congress decided to just fund it. So Congress never passed legislation authorizing the creation of the FBI. The president just said, hey, I want to have a federal law enforcement agency. And Congress said, okay, we'll appropriate $3 million to fund it. And they just funded it. And Trump could get rid of the FBI if he wanted to. It's not one of the agencies that was created by the legislature. It was actually created by a president. So I don't know if he's going to do that, but you're right. A lot of these executive orders, for them to have any longevity, they need to be legislated.
So what do you think our next step is?
Gosh.
How do we know? How do we know whether to ask for it to be turned into a law, or if the executive order is enough.
Okay. I don't know that we need to ask for anything. Look, Trump's people have a plan. These guys are not stupid. They know what they're doing. They realize that if they don't get Congress to legislate these executive orders, they're going to go away. And so and here's an example. So Doge is created by executive fiat. This really took everyone by surprise. The pundits and the political experts and the economists all thought, oh, Trump's just going to have this advisory panel that's going to give advice to executive branch offices, and it's not going to have any actual authority. And then Trump put out an executive order that created another government agency called Doge. It's an actual government agency, right? And Elon and his people in there have authority to cut funding to certain programs. They are a government agency. They're a government agency that Trump created by executive fiat. And if Congress decides to fund Doge, it becomes a permanent government agency. Whether Congress passes legislation to authorize it is irrelevant. I mean, it does matter, but if Congress just decides they're going to fund Doge, they're going to appropriate, $10 million a year to fund Doge, then it's a government agency that's funded. So I think Trump's people have a plan. I think they understand the need to pass into law bills that will make these things permanent. Legislation is far better than an executive order. We all know that. But, how that works exactly, I don't know. I'm kind of willing to trust the plan on this one. And if I see Trump and Scavino and Don Jr. and Trump surrogates pushing a particular issue on social media, I'm going to get behind that issue, whatever that issue is. If they're all pushing a certain issue or narrative, that's a signal to us that we need to support this issue.
And so how do we let him know we're supporting an issue? Do we
Be
need to be
loud
on X?
social media. No, that's what I do. I just get loud on social media. If I see people like, whatever cabinet secretary or whatever chairman of some agency is talking about, I get on there and support that. Here's an example. I'm a big follower and fanboy of Brendan Carr. Brendan Carr is the new chair of the FCC. And Brendan Carr is a very cool guy. He's got a great sense of humor. And he's he's a hands-on, common sense guy who is chairing the Federal Communications Commission. And he is going after the mainstream media. He is allowing investigations to roll out. He's looking into holding mainstream media news outlets accountable for dishonesty in their reporting. His angle is these licenses that we grant to them require them to act in the public interest. If they're not acting in the public interest, we may revoke their license. Okay? That is an issue that I'm very, very interested in. I want to see the mainstream media held accountable for their dishonesty in reporting. And Brendan Carr is looking at potentially yanking the licenses of mainstream media outlets because they're not acting in the public interest. That is and I just retweet Brendan Carr when he is retweeting about his investigations of ABC and NBC and all these other news outlets. I'm retweeting his, and I'm engaging with him, and I'm sharing his information on X. All right. That's what I mean by supporting the Trump's agenda. If there's someone up, whether it's Scott Bessent at Treasury or whatever your issue is, if it's crypto and you want to, get on Lutnick and his X feed and retweet Lutnick, or whoever is out there, maybe it's Hegseth, maybe you have a big interest in defense. I retweet Pete Hegseth a lot because changing the Pentagon and the way that the Defense Department operates is a big issue for me. I'm starting to retweet Tulsi Gabbard. You know, I've never was a big Tulsi fan, but she's doing a pretty good job at DNI. And so I am retweeting to my followers. I have 360,000 followers on Twitter. So when I see one of Trump's people addressing an issue and trying to explain to the American public what they're doing, I support them by retweeting their content and interacting with people who have questions and comments. That's what I do. What the average person can do, you know, it depends on your situation. If you're not real active on social media, that may not be your way to do it. You can talk to friends and family and relatives and say, hey, look, you know, we've got these people and they're addressing these issues and this is how they're doing it. It's supporting Trump's people and their messaging, I think.
So is it, I'm currently not on X. I think that's the same thing as Twitter, right? So would it be a good idea for folks to be on X and tweet away to let these leaders know?
Yeah, whether it's on Instagram. I mean, Don Jr. is very big on Instagram. He's on there a lot. Some people are on TikTok. Some people, there's different social media platforms. Some people are on Facebook. And all of these people that I'm talking about, most of them have accounts on multiple social media platforms.
Okay.
Wherever you are, you can just support Trump by retweeting Trump's people and helping to get the word out about their issues, their agenda, what they're doing.
Terrific, Dave. Thank you so much.
You bet. Roger Smith, you are on the air. If you can unmute yourself, what is on your mind?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You started out talking about international stuff. It hits home for me because I have a handful of friends that are in Ukraine.
Okay.
And in fact, one friend from Dallas actually relocated to Odessa in the last couple of months. And he's been there a lot of times, and so he's very familiar. Everything I see where Ukrainians are posting on social media, they have this horrible, horrible perception of Trump. And I'm sure it's from the media they consume that's over there, but they actually believe that Trump is best buds with Putin and all kinds of convoluted things. And they think that Zelensky's a hero. And, you know, and I do my best not to engage with some of those folks, but I'd like to hear your take on that stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy to share my thoughts. I also have a friend who was in Ukraine for a while. A good friend of mine, Peter Coco. Some of you have heard of him. He was a bloke who invited us to Australia back in 2012 for our first overseas mission trip, where we went and trained people to do emotional healing and physical healing and deliverance. Anyway, long story short, Coco ended up in Ukraine right before the outbreak of the war. And he ended up smuggling out of Ukraine a bunch of his employees because they were all in a very difficult situation. He ended up helping them get them out of Ukraine. I'm not going to go in too far into that, but on the issue with Ukraine and the perception of Trump. So what someone in Ukraine may not understand is that Ukraine has been perceived around the world by both people on the right and the left as the most corrupt country in the world prior to the outbreak of the war. You can go back and find Wall Street Journal, Politico, ABC, NBC, CBS news articles reporting on the insane level of corruption in Ukraine. Going back to 2012, going back to 2008, Ukraine has always been looked at as an incredibly corrupt country. Politics are corrupt. The politicians are bought and paid for by Ukrainian oligarchs. Ihor Kolomoisky comes to mind, and Privatbank, and you can go down that rabbit trail. who actually put Zelensky into power. So to start off with, Ukraine has always been a corrupt country for the last 25 years or so. And I'm not going to go into the Maidan Revolution of 2014. Most people know about that. But what I will say that some people don't know about is that Zelensky, in the last 5 years, since he's been the president, has virtually eradicated all news reporting in Ukraine that is not favorable to him. He has banned news outlets. He has banned reporters. He has imprisoned his political opponents. He has virtually eradicated every church denomination that he doesn't agree with. He has bombed churches. In eastern Ukraine, there was a big campaign that killed a lot of basically people who were Russians who had moved into Ukraine. He was very harsh on the Russian population in Ukraine, just basically ethnic cleansing in that part. That was back about, 2015, 2016, maybe even later into 2020. Zelensky has done some really horrendous things. And he is a puppet of the European oligarchs. He's a puppet of the EU, and I'm just going to say this. Many of you have heard me say this before. I believe we're currently living in the film, Sum of All Fears. So if you don't know the plot of the film, Sum of All Fears, briefly, it's a Tom Clancy novel turned into a film where a small group of fascists have a plan to create a fascist superstate by getting United States and Russia to have a nuclear war. They annihilate each other, and when the war is over, the fascists come out of their bunkers and get rid of all international borders, and they rule over a globalist superstate. That is what the leaders in the EU are pushing for. When you listen to these, when you listen to the Davos crowd and the leaders in Europe, they're all pushing for war, nuclear war between the United States and Russia. That is what they want. And they're using Ukraine as a lever to try to force Putin and Trump to get into a nuclear war. They've been doing that for a long time. Trump is smart enough to know that he is not going to get baited into exacerbating this war in Ukraine. He wants it over. Putin wants it over. They don't want to go to a nuclear standoff. But the problem is there's a lot of people in Europe who are doing everything they can to provoke Russia. So now you're seeing Donald Tusk in Poland saying he's going to double the size of their military. He wants to acquire nuclear weapons. UK and France are talking now about potentially creating a nuclear umbrella in Europe to protect European nations from nuclear weapon strikes by Russia. Macron, Starmer, all of these people in Europe, they're going to do everything they can to try to provoke a wider war with Russia, because their goal is nuclear war. The end game is a fascist superstate. That's what they want. So how do you get someone in Ukraine, some of your friends in Ukraine, to understand all of that? I don't know. That's how I see the global chessboard. I do what I can to help people see that these idiots have a really evil agenda, and we need to do everything we can to try to bring about peace, because I don't think any of these people want nuclear war. I mean, your friends, my friends, we want peace. We don't want nuclear war. How do we get the European leaders to back down? I don't know. And how do we get that message through to people who've been brainwashed by Ukrainian and European media, I don't know. There's a virtual media blackout in Europe on the truth of what's happening in Ukraine. There's just so many people who don't know what's really happening.
I would tell these people when they ask me, I say, 100 years ago, more than that, Mark Twain had a famous saying, if you've not read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you have read the newspaper, you're misinformed.
Right, exactly.
And that's the starting point, because
yeah.
all of the news reporting they get is highly filtered. It's one very, very specific ethos and point of view, and they don't hear any of the other side.
Right. They get propaganda that pushes the state narrative, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah. Because they believe their opinion of Zelensky is that he's as close to the second coming as anyone could possibly be, and it's nuts.
Yep. Yeah, they live in a delusion that is really hard to break through.
Yeah,
I don't know how you get through to people like that.
Yeah,
pray for them.
Yep, I do that every day. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. All right, I'm trying to get someone to speak here, and they keep moving around. And now she's gone. All right. Pamela D., I guess I unmuted you. You had your hand up. Did you want to say something, add something?
No, we're good.
Okay. Let's see. Gay Turner, if you can unmute yourself, what is on your mind, sister?
Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Doing okay.
Good. Trump has probably the most talented cabinet I've ever seen.
Isn't it amazing?
Hey, it resounds.
Are you tired of the winning yet?
Not at all. I'm amazed at this. But how do you put that many alpha people? They're not just good at what they do; they're good at communicating what they do, which is so helpful, because that way, if somebody asks a question, they're not having to second guess. Anyway, would you expound on your ideas about that? Because people are starting to try to set them against each other.
Yeah, I will. Oops. Yeah. So, all right. Fancy's back, and she is muted. All right. Fancy, sit tight. I'll get to you in a minute. I see your hand. But, Gay, I want to address your question. So, yes, Trump has assembled a very strong cabinet. All the cabinet secretaries, I think, are above average. Some of them are way above average. And then we have non-cabinet positions like what Elon is doing, and his national security advisor, I think Waltz is doing a great job. And then he's got people like Stephen Miller, who has been there from the beginning. And Stephen Miller will get up there when Caroline Leavitt is doing a press conference, and some smarty pants reporter will ask a really inane question, like, what makes you think that president has all of these powers to cut all these programs and all this funding? And why do you think that the judges and the courts and the Congress don't have any say in this? Stephen Miller will get up there and say, so when you look at the Constitution and you look at the executive branch, which is outlined in the Constitution, and the Constitution invests in a single person an entire branch of government. The Constitution says this person, this individual, this man, this woman who's elected president by the people has all the power of the executive branch, and everyone in the executive branch is subservient to them. Nobody inside the executive branch is an independent arbiter or an independent check on the power of the presidency. I love Stephen Miller. I could listen to that guy talk all day long. But Trump has a very talented group of people around him, and they're really good with messaging, like you said. It's not just that they understand the need for good policies that are America first. They also have to communicate that vision to the world. And what Trump's people this time around, are doing that they did not do in the first term is I haven't seen anyone in Trump's cabinet yet undermine Trump's messaging. That happened all the time in 2017, 2018, 2019. Trump would take a position on something and Pompeo would not go along with what he said, would not implement his policy. Pompeo actually did a lot to undermine what Trump wanted to do in the CIA and State Department. Pompeo was first director of CIA. He did virtually nothing to revamp the CIA. Went to State Department after Rex Tillerson was fired, and he did nothing to revamp the State Department. And that was kind of what we saw in Trump in his first administration. Lots and lots of people who did nothing to advance his policies, did nothing to support his agenda. We're not very good at messaging. And this time around, we've got people in cabinet positions who support his agenda, are actually getting things done, who are making changes, issuing policy directives, cutting programs, cutting the wasteful spending, and they're very good at messaging. So I'm loving it. Denise and I, every day, we're like, all right. Denise is like, honey, what is there winning today? What I missed? I've been busy doing stuff. Like what wins did we get today? And I'll just outline for her 3 or 4 things that happened every single day that are moving America in the right direction. We're just having wins every day. We don't always get the wins we want. A lot of people are still waiting for the Epstein files to be released. Spoiler alert, you're not going to see the Epstein files released. It's not going to happen. Pam Bondi cannot take videos of grown men having sex with 12-year-old girls on Jeffrey Epstein's island and make those public. That's not going to happen. A lot of the evidence that has been collected related to Jeffrey Epstein is pornographic evidence. If you're waiting for that stuff to be made public, it's not going to happen. If anything is good, this is my take, right? My opinion, and it may be an unpopular opinion, but if anything's going to happen from the evidence that the DOJ has collected related to Jeffrey Epstein and his clients and the powerful people around the world who were blackmailed, those people are going to have to be charged. You can't just take a bunch of documents and just release them to the public and say, oh, this guy, we believe that this guy is a pedophile, without giving him a chance to defend himself in a court of law, without giving him a chance to present evidence. You have to take these people and prosecute them. You have to take your evidence, file criminal charges against them, and give them a day in court where they can defend themselves. That's the only responsible way to present evidence of corruption. And so the people who are waiting for the big dump of Epstein files to come out, it's not going to happen. It just isn't. It's not how it works. I don't know why Pam Bondi said that in the first place. She did a little rug pull on a bunch of people, and hopefully she learned her lesson and won't do that again. But that is one of the few examples where I think somebody misfired. Is in Trump's cabinet. Everybody else is hitting on all cylinders. And I'm not going to throw Pam Bondi under the bus. I'm not going to throw her overboard. I'm not going to call her a traitor. She, I think, made an unforced error, and I'm going to give her a chance to correct course and get her ship in order, fire a bunch of more deep staters at DOJ, and maybe expose some corruption. All right. Let's see. Going to go to another hand. I'm having Paula, you have your hand up. What is on your mind, sister? Can you unmute yourself?
Mute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I have a question in regard to our media.
Okay.
Maybe you can explain to me the Smith-Mundt Act. And because a long time ago, I read an article where it said when Obama was president, he repealed the Smith-Mundt Act. And next thing you know, the media is just throwing out all this stuff.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, why don't President Trump just fix it? You know?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me take a swing at it. The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. I'll make it real short. Basically, what happened was during the Obama administration, Obama convinced Congress to make a change to the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. And what it allowed is this got snuck in, along with a bunch of other stuff that was brought into this bill. It allowed the government to put out propaganda into the media outlets. It legalized government-supported propaganda, basically is what it did. So after that happened, we saw a massive increase in, I would just call it psychological operations. The intelligence community then was a little more emboldened, and the CIA began to ramp up its propaganda storm against the American people, against America itself, against American institutions, against patriotism. And we got all of this leftist propaganda being disseminated out into the mainstream. It went into the universities. It went into everywhere. And Trump doesn't have the ability to undo that. That's a congressional act. So Congress would have to actually take action on that to reverse what Obama did. And whether Congress is going to do that or not, I don't know. I haven't heard any talk about it. They should. All right.
Hello,
Come on,
can you
Cheryl.
hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. I have a quick question. Might be a long answer.
Okay.
I'm still watching to hear information about gold in Fort Knox. Do we hear anything about that yet?
We have not heard anything about that because they haven't gone there to inspect the gold yet. Trump and Elon have been saying they're going to go to Fort Knox and inspect, see if the gold is there. They haven't done that yet. When they do, you'll know about it because Elon's talking about live streaming it. So when they go in the next, I would imagine it'll probably be in the next few weeks, whenever they've got time to get over there. I would imagine you'll probably see a live stream walkthrough of Fort Knox, and maybe we'll see the gold is there. Whether they can live stream that or not, I don't know. It may be a secure facility where they can't actually live stream. Elon has talked about it. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that, but when they go into Fort Knox, we'll know. You'll hear about it. All right. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Vladimir, if you can unmute yourself, buddy, what is on your mind today?
Hi, Dave.
Good afternoon.
I've been watching you a long time, since like 2020, since you've got to be on a Elijah stream. And
okay.
And I remember the one show was like about HF communication. And I just got my general license and studying for an extra. Is any program that you're gonna do about all the HF communication and the radio setup and whatever? I know you talked about that mesh stack, whatever the communication, but what about just a normal HF communication?
That is a good question. I did a live stream. Was it a live stream or was it a pre-recorded video? I did a video some time ago. It might have been around last year. That is primarily just about radio communication. I talk about HF radio. I talk about UHF and VHF radio, MERS frequencies, and some GMRS and all the different radio frequencies. If I would consider doing a video just on HF communication because it fascinates me. I love HF radio. Just so you know, Vladimir, I don't know where you're located, but I host an HF net every Sunday afternoon at 3:30 Arizona time, where it's primarily for people in Arizona and the Southwest. We're on 40 meters, but you're welcome to try to join the net sometime if you'd like. If you can pick up our signal. Where are you located, Vladimir?
Hey, Dave, thank you very much for that information. Actually, I've been on a 40 meters, but because I'm kind of brand new to this hobby, and just about 3 months that I got my general license, and
Okay.
I heard people talk about net, but it's kind of confusing me what kind of net is. So I'm kind of not going
Right.
to be. I can only just listen, but I definitely can join you if you can provide like a frequency and stuff like that where you've been. It's no problem. I'm Washington State, Vancouver.
In Vancouver?
Yeah, they're close to the Albany where it says.
I know where it is. Yeah, my son lives up there.
Oh, really?
He
In
works
Vancouver?
My son works in Vancouver. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's very nice.
Small world.
Oh yeah, very nice, Dave. I'm so glad that you actually picked up my the question so I can ask you. And also, I have some kind of health question, but I guess maybe like a next time or something.
No. What's your health question?
So I'm kind of retired now for 1 year, but I've been doing like a construction electrician. One of those days, I kind of hit it myself in the hip area. And it still bugs me like for 3-4 years later, it started bugging me right now. I cannot sit long on my chair and the kind of painful. I have to stay and walking a lot. But in my lower back,
It hurts. You have pain when you sit?
yes.
Okay.
So something like is going on. I mean, I'm not sure what is, but I have to stand up and walk a lot. And then
Yeah.
And then my lower back is bugged me all the time. I mean, a long time.
Okay. Vladimir, can you go into the chat and put in a prayer request there?
Okay.
You know how to do that?
I can. I'm talking on the phone right now, but when I get to my computer, I put a prayer request.
Okay, yeah. Or just send me a prayer request through email. Either way.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
All right. Thank you, Vladimir.
Okay, thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Bye. All right. Vladimir wants to join the HF net from Vancouver. That would be interesting. He probably wouldn't hear me. All right. Let's see. We have Dave Imhoff. Dave, if you can unmute yourself, what's on your mind?
There you go, Dave. First of all, I'd like to ask everybody to pray for that cough that you've had for the last couple months. Doesn't seem to want to go away.
Yeah, you know what happened? I went to visit somebody who had a little child, and that kid coughed in my face, and I got a cold. And I don't get sick very often. I actually, prior to that cold, my previous time of being sick was before COVID, back in probably before 2019. I don't get sick very often, but when I get a cold, the cough just hangs on for months and months afterward. So yes, if you want to pray for me to get rid of this cough, I would appreciate it.
Okay, yeah. So I got a bit of a situation here. I've actually had you pray for me a couple of times for my type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
Started that journey a number of years ago, doing keto and extra exercising and supplements. I'm trying to stay away from prescriptions since they really don't do anything in the long term.
Okay.
And along this process, seems like I just keep uncovering one thing after another, and I'm thinking I might have some kind of a generational spirit or something going on. I mean, I've working with a functional medicine clinic, and they find out I've got SIBO, I've got leaky gut.
Wow.
They found out that I've got Sjogren's syndrome. And it's like in this journey to correct one thing, I'm finding a multitude of other things that just keep popping up, and they happen to be things that I know that my mother had.
Okay.
And so I'm just wondering, I mean, how do we know when we're doing the right thing, that we're on the right track, that we're running up against some kind of a demon or something that's preventing us from accomplishing these things? And I've gone through your books. The best that I can, I seem to have a block of actually being able to see Jesus, to, being able to, I'm starting to hear his messaging a little bit better.
Okay.
But when I ask for all these things, the, spiritual healing and all of that kind of stuff, the emotional healing and all that, it seems like I can only get so far with that. And then I ask the Lord to show me, okay, what is it that I'm missing? What's the missing part? And it's like I don't seem to get an answer, but I keep getting more things that are popping up that seem to be roadblocks to getting to where I need to go.
Yeah. Well, I guess let me say this. Your situation is rather similar to my wife's situation. Denise has gone down this road to healing for the last 15 years or so, and she'll get a breakthrough on one issue, and then she'll do some more digging, do some more research and some reading, listening to podcasts, do some testing and find out, oh, wow, looks like I got something else going on. And then she'll start addressing that issue, and then she'll do some more research, and she finds another thing. And then she finds another thing that has to be addressed. What I would say to people in your situation, and there's a lot of people that are in your situation, you're not unique, trust me. I get a lot of emails, and this is a very common theme. It's pretty typical to go to a regular MD, and he'll say, oh, you've got, diabetes, so we're going to put you on, whatever medication for it. And you think, okay, fair enough, I'll just take the medication or not. But if you go to a naturopath, or if you go to a functional medicine doc, or if you do something else, or if you go to Freedom Encounters and have a little deliverance and inner healing session, you'll find out, holy moly, I got all kinds of other stuff going on. And that's what you're finding out. By going to these other practitioners, they're revealing more issues that the MD didn't see, didn't check for, doesn't know how to assess, right? So my general approach to addressing these issues is, number one, emotional healing first. If you go through the emotional healing process, and if you get healed of those soul wounds, that will usually address some of the health problems that you're dealing with, particularly if you have something that's related to autoimmune issues. But also, sometimes just physical pain, neck pain, back pain, migraine headaches. If you go through emotional healing, a lot of times you'll find out, oh, those are actually demons that were afflicting you with this chronic pain. Do the emotional healing. It takes away the attachment point of the demons, and then the pain goes away. I would strongly suggest you might look into Freedom Encounters. I recommend them a lot for people who are they're just not making any progress. They've been praying and reading and doing what they can, and they're just not getting anywhere. Freedom Encounters they have a really good track record. They do ministry by Zoom, so you don't have to go there in person. There's a little bit of homework that they have you do up front, and then they do an inner healing and deliverance session with you, and there's some aftercare. And I get reports back from people all the time who have gone through Freedom Encounters and got free of a lot of junk that was just not being addressed and not being healed. So that would be my recommendation for you.
Okay. One other quick question for you. I've been listening to your adventures into the wide, wonderful world of sourdough bread.
All right.
And I'm contemplating doing that again, though, with the type 2 diabetes. Of course, stay away from all breads and blah, 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 all of that stuff. So, I mean, were the issues that brought you to what you're doing now, was that a diabetes type of thing, or was it a gluten issue?
It was a gluten thing. Yeah. So what happened was Denise was basically diagnosed with gluten intolerance probably 15 years ago, maybe longer. We moved here in 2011, and she had been gluten intolerant for several years prior to that when we lived in Washington State. And anyway, she was disobedient for many years and just ate pasta and bread anyway, and she suffered the consequences. She had some pretty bad reactions to it. And then she got serious. We got down here to Arizona. She got pretty serious, and we went just gluten-free for years. No gluten at all, not breadcrumbs, not nothing. And she has flourished and has been she has other issues. She has chronic sinus infections and other things too. But we started listening to people who had so-called gluten intolerance. I call it so-called because it seems like it's really not gluten intolerance. That's what they call it because they think, oh, it's got to be the gluten that's actually causing the problem. And come to find out, no, it's not. It's the glyphosate. Thank you for the 32 people in the chat who said, no, it's not the gluten, it's the glyphosate. You are correct. So these people were going to Europe. They go to France and Italy, and they have all the bread, all the pasta they want, and they don't have any reactions. They come back to the United States, they eat our bread, our pasta here, and they have all kinds of problems with it because they don't use the pesticides and herbicides and stuff in Europe that they do here. So after hearing some of these stories, I thought, I'm going to get some Italian flour, imported Italian flour, and see what happens. And sure enough, well, I went out. I went on a sourdough place, and the place that I get it from, they got this Italian flour. It's really good. And I just bought some, and I made some sourdough starter. I got some sourdough starter. I actually bought the starter on Amazon, and then I just started feeding it. Made the sourdough, made some bread. Denise snarfed down half a loaf of bread, no problems. I made a pizza crust out of it. She had no problems. And so that's where we got to the Italian flour. Now we had pasta. I made some Italian pasta last night from this company that their pasta is made in Italy. I can't think of the name of it right now off the top of my head. But tried that last night. She had no problems at all. So as a diabetic, I don't know what kind of issue you would have as far as blood sugar management and bread and pasta. I'm really not knowledgeable enough to comment on that. But that's our journey with wheat and flour and pasta from Italy.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Absolutely. All right. Dono. Oh, dang it. I cannot seem to get this to work. All right, Dono, if you can unmute yourself, what is on your mind?
Good morning, Dave.
Hey, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Two unrelated questions. First one is the new book, the Neshtastic book, in Amazon yet? I tried to order it on, I think it was Thursday, and I couldn't find any reference to it on Amazon.
It is. Oh, gosh. If you go to my website, prayingmedic.com, and click on the books tab.
Okay.
On the next page that loads at the very top, you'll see my 2 latest books, the 4th book in the Q Chronicles, and then Meshtastic Made Simple. And if you click on the little red button for the Meshtastic Made Simple, it'll take you to the Amazon page where you can get either the paperback or the Kindle. It's available on both.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yep.
Second unrelated question is somehow or other, when I rebooted my phone the other day, I can no longer log on to Rumble. It
Okay.
wants me to log on. I've gone through the password change. It says successfully changed. Then I go back and try to log in, and it instead of going to Rumble, it comes up and gives me this thing about I have to log in. It's just a big circle around and around and around, and never get to Rumble.
Okay.
Who should I talk to, and what should I say?
Okay. Are you talking about using the Rumble app?
The Rumble app, yes.
Okay. Yeah, the Rumble app is really buggy. I really don't like it for a number of reasons. I'm not sure why it won't let you log in. I have no idea. You'd have to contact Rumble customer support and tell them what your issue is, and they're going to recommend try this and then try this and try this. But I really don't know what the issue might be. Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
All right.
I am a couple of updates back on my Android. So I don't know if that plays into this or not, but it just happened all of a sudden.
Okay. Alrighty. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Marcia Deneen. Marcia, if you can unmute yourself, what is on your mind?
Hi, Dave. Thanks for taking my question. I actually have emailed you about my concern, and I just wanted to ask you a few questions. I woke up 2 months ago with a very, very extremely stiff and painful neck and occipital area in my head.
Yep.
And I had to take an ambulance to the ER. And it has gotten a little bit better. The pain was an 8 out of 10. It's now about a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
But I'm not functional, and I'm not. I don't have neck mobility. I cannot turn my head right and left.
Okay.
I can't touch it to my chest. So I have a lot of people praying for me. I'm doing a lot of medical intervention for it. But my question for you is, when I pray, the visual field that, you start praying and your visual field is dark and it turns like an indigo blue.
Okay.
I'm not feeling a lot of guidance from God or a lot of intervention other than indigo blue, and I don't know what that means.
What do you think it means?
I think that it means something about my voice, something about not speaking my truth, or, not speaking the truth, because...
Wait a minute. Where did you get my truth from?
I live in this world.
Yes, you certainly
and I'm
do.
also in the healthcare. I'm also in the health.
Oh yeah.
The health industry.
It.
So I've been told what to say and and all that.
I have a friend who was into the New Age for a long time.
Yeah.
And she became a Christian and got baptized at a very tender age of like 64, 65. And she was used to saying, speaking my truth. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, well, people just need to speak their truth. And I'm like, do you mean speaking the truth? Because our truth, my truth, your truth, that's a subjective thing. That's not the truth. It's not an objective truth. the truth is Jesus.
Right.
It took a while for her to figure out, like, yeah, I have to stop saying that.
Right. And
Anyway,
and my
so,
truth is Jesus Christ. And I
right,
worked in
right,
a community health clinic,
right.
and I'm a women's health nurse practitioner. So you can
Yep.
imagine what I have been.
I'm sure you're around people who have interesting ways of communicating that sort of
Yes.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your question is,
What is the symbolism there?
the blue,
Is there symbolism there for it?
indigo blue.
Because
All
it's
right.
happened. It doesn't just happen once. It's happened many times that
All right.
my visual field becomes indigo blue.
Okay. I am kind of I'm interested in colors that I see in visions. So when I pray, I pay attention to what I see, because the Lord will show you things in visions while you're praying, and those things that you see are often symbolic of something that the Lord is doing. All right.
Right.
Now, if you go to most dream interpretation books, or a book that has that teaches on symbolic representations and symbolic imagery in visions, you'll find that blue is often associated with the heavens because the sky is blue. Although the sky is kind of that light blue, still the color blue prophetically, symbolically, usually is connected to something that is heavenly. And indigo or purple is sometimes associated with royalty. Heavenly royalty, as in the Godhead, the Trinity, right? So I suspect that the Lord is conveying to you a message about something heavenly, something to do with the Godhead, the Trinity, that maybe the divine nature of God. What exactly that is supposed to mean to you specifically, I don't know. It's interesting that you think it has something to do with your voice. Can you kind of elucidate a little bit on why you believe that? You might be right.
Well, I think because, again, through my career, I've had to couch things in certain ways instead of saying,
Bite your tongue?
yeah, have had to bite my tongue. Yeah.
Right. Right.
You have to say things in certain, like, you need to develop yourself spiritually. You need to go
Right.
and find time. Oftentimes it's okay to say God, but if you said Jesus
Yeah.
Christ and you in a clinical situation, I live in Massachusetts too, by the way.
Yeah. So you're probably muzzled a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't know if the occipital pain is related to you having to muzzle yourself. It's possible that there is a demonic entity that is tormenting you, and it may be connected to this this demand by your culture that you watch your words.
Mm-hmm.
That it's easy for a demonic entity that specializes in that area to attach to you because you are and I don't mean this to say this negatively, but you're basically acquiescing to the powers that be, and you're submitting to their request that you muzzle yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we all have to do it. I have to choose my words very carefully when I'm on social media. Sometimes I'll tell Denise what I'm going to post. She's like, "You're not going to post that."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
But she's like, "You're not posting that." I'm like, okay, fine. We all have editors in our life that try to censor us and control what we say. My wife does it for a good reason. She doesn't want me to become the victim of some stupid internet thing. But in your case, this political correctness, the spirit of political correctness, may have gotten a bit of an open door into you, and maybe actually tormenting you, and could be causing this pain. It could be demonic.
That's
So,
interesting. The other guy, I forget what his name was, Dono, maybe you recommended
yeah,
the guy with diabetes.
yeah,
Was it Freedom
Freedom
Encounters? When you said
Encounters.
that, I thought, oh, well, that might be interesting to check that out.
If you are having difficulty getting this occipital pain resolved, I would definitely recommend at least looking into Freedom Encounters, going to their website, looking at their resources, and maybe chat with somebody and see if they think that they can help you. Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Sounds good. Thank you. I appreciate all that you do. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Let's see. Karen Bennett, your hand just shot up. Karen, if you can unmute yourself, what's going on today?
Am I on?
You are on.
Aha. I have a question about a teaching. I haven't heard you speak on it, I don't think, but we had a pastor who unfortunately recently died, but he continually stressed the fact that the Bible says that narrow is the way and few are those who are going to make it, and wide is the way and many are those who are going to go to destruction. So he would use that as a way to say there isn't going to be a great awakening. There isn't going to be a great harvest, a billion soul harvest, and everything that we've been hearing others say God is saying is coming. And I've never heard anybody say, well, that was more for his time, or that is in comparison to everybody who's ever been born, or has given any comparison, I guess, with what God seems to be saying is coming and what that scripture says.
Okay. Can I enter into a dialogue with you?
Sure.
That means don't go away, because we're gonna talk.
Okay, I'm here.
All right. So that passage that you're referring to, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you disagree. That passage speaks about the exclusivity of Christ as our Savior, correct?
I think is talking, I mean, I think people look at it, or the way he was looking at it, is it's more a comparison of how many will be saved and how many won't be saved.
I understand that. That's the direct text there, but what I'm asking you is by implication, broader context. It's talking about the fact that Jesus is the only way to God the Father, the only way to heaven. You can't get into heaven any other way. And Jesus used a lot of different stories, analogies, comparisons to illustrate that there is only one way. Jesus said, I am the door to the sheep gate. He called himself the door. He is the only way to the Father, right? So we're talking about the exclusivity, that Jesus is the only way to heaven, the only way to God. You can try any other way you want, but you're not getting in unless you come through me, right?
True. Right.
Okay. So if that is the underlying principle in that teaching, I think what that is referring to more broadly is that Hinduism and Buddhism and Confucianism and Shintoism and communism and every other ism out there is not going to get you into heaven. There is only one way. There is only one door. You're only getting in through Jesus. And many people, many false teachers will come along and say, oh, well, I have a way to find God. I can help you find God. I can help you get to heaven. I can, follow my teaching, follow this, do these sacraments, do this, do that. I have a way that I can get you in. And what we know through the Bible is those ways do not lead to God. They lead somewhere else. You're not getting it through that stuff, right? So I would not. This is just me personally. I wouldn't necessarily say that that precludes a Great Awakening, because there were many Great Awakenings in history. So there is the Welsh revival, and there was a Great Awakening in the Appalachians, and there have been several Great Awakenings where there was a great time of spiritual renewal. People were crying out to God, repenting of their sins. Churches were being planted. Throughout history over the last 4 or 5 centuries, spiritual renewals have happened and revivals have happened quite regularly. So I don't see why that wouldn't happen again. Now, whether there's going to be a billion soul harvest specifically, I don't know. I can't say that. I've heard the prophecies, Bob Jones and other people have prophesied that. And I'm not saying they're false prophets. I'm saying I don't know for a fact if those are going to happen. I can tell you personally, since I began discussing Q's posts that expose institutional corruption around the world, I have received hundreds of testimonies from people who have converted and become believers in Jesus and come out of agnosticism, atheism, Satanism, every New Age, anything you can think of. Many, many people are coming to the Lord in this age because of the exposure of corruption. And primarily what brings people around is especially agnostics and atheists who don't believe in the devil, don't believe in demons, don't believe in Satan. When they started to think about the fact that, okay, it looks like our governments really are run by a cabal of corrupt people who are compromised, who are probably blackmailed, and many of them are probably pedophiles. And some of them literally worship Satan. In their own words, they've said that, the corrupt people, right? And so a lot of these people are realizing, wow, if these guys actually worship Satan, then maybe Satan exists. And if Satan exists, then maybe God exists. And so for the atheists and agnostics, that's a very powerful revelation that leads them to God, and hopefully they get to God through Jesus and the cross. Long way of saying, I think that we probably are experiencing right now some kind of a spiritual revival. I'm seeing the fruit of it. I think it's just going to continue as more corruption gets exposed. I think that spiritual revival is going to continue. Just my thoughts.
Thank you. I appreciate that perspective.
Yeah. Val Kelly. Val, if you are able to unmute yourself, what is on your mind?
Hi, Dave. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So nice to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
I have a question. Yeah. I have a question regarding Trump and his third, quote unquote, potential run. Like, is he going to be, what do you think about that? Like, we've seen, we thought he's been a shadow president the whole time Biden was there, or maybe he's going to be the president for the next 8 years. And he's also mentioned this in his rallies regarding he's a 3-term president, etc. Maybe 4. Now he's even said, I think. So what do you think about all that?
I think that, I have a lot of thoughts on it, actually. I think that Trump is all right. I think Trump does many different things simultaneously. Some people have learned how to walk and chew gum at the same time. Trump can walk and chew gum and hang drywall and drive a Jeep and throw a baseball at the same time. Trump can do 5 or 6 different things at the same time through one single social media post. So partly what we know for a fact that Trump is doing is he's trolling the people that hate him.
Right.
So back in his first administration, you'd see the meme with the video that Trump was going to be president in 2024 and 2028 and 2032 and 2036. And it just kept rolling, and Trump's going to be, it's his fifth term and it's his sixth term. And Scavino used to post that video all the time. And the reason for doing that was to troll the media, to troll the haters, and to just get inside their heads and make them explode and go crazy. Trump is a master troller. We all know that. Right? That's one of the things that Trump is accomplishing. But there's something else that he's accomplishing. Trump in this, by the way, I don't believe Trump was a shadow president while Biden was in office. It's just my personal opinion. He was on the outside looking in, and he was, when Biden was inaugurated, Biden took over, and Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett and Obama and John Kerry, they all ran the Oval Office, and Trump is back now, and now it's his second term. And those people did a lot of destruction to the country while they were running the Oval Office. I don't believe Trump was like in the wings, kind of secretly controlling everything while Biden was in the Oval Office. I just don't believe that. I know a lot of people do, and that's fine. Not going to argue it. So why is Trump talking about a third term? Because Trump at 78 years old has a lot of energy. He has a lot he wants to accomplish. And I don't think he believes he can get it all done in 4 years. I think he would like to get a swing at a third term and maybe have another 4 years and maybe get more cool stuff done and maybe reform the government even more. He has massively big vision for our country. He has a vision so big for this country that 99.9% of our country, people in our country, don't understand it and couldn't comprehend it and wouldn't believe that he could do it if he told them to their face, this is what I want to do. Most people would not believe him and would say, you can't do that. That's crazy. No one can do that. Trump has insanely big dreams for this country. And if he's serious about a third term, it's because he believes he can't get everything done in just 4 years. What would it take for him to get a third term in office? It would take Congress passing a resolution to change the Constitution, which requires a 2/3 majority of states to vote in favor of it. So you'd have to get the state legislatures of 2/3 of the states to vote to change the Constitution so there could be a third term for President Trump. That's not going to happen. I don't think that 2/3 of the states are going to vote to change the Constitution to allow a third term. Trump will continue to talk about it. You know what? I'll pray into it. I would love to see a third term of Trump. He has a snowball's chance in hell of getting a third term because so much has to happen if that's going to be a reality. Your thoughts, Val, what do you think? Tell me I'm smoking dope.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, what about like if we find out, or if Congress finds out that the election was actually stolen, will he be granted another 4 years?
Yeah, so I would say no. Because even if, like say the DOJ and Pam Bondi, they go in and they do an actual investigation of the 2020 election and determine, oh, wow, it looks like there actually was a massive amount of cheating in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona. And yes, it looks like if they hadn't cheated, Trump would have won the election in 2020. You're probably not going to get a judge to overturn the federal election of 2020. That's just not going to happen. Supreme Court's not going to do it. The Supreme Court, there's no way Supreme Court is going to get involved in any kind of relitigating the 2020 election. It's not going to happen. I doubt that any federal judge will get involved in that. A judge may look at a state election race. A fair judge might look at one and say, you present a good case, and I'm going to overturn the results of the election in 2020. So you may get Georgia, a federal judge in Georgia or Pennsylvania or someplace, to overturn the results of a state election and declare that Trump was a winner, but that's not going to undo all of the 4 years that Biden was in office. It's not going to nullify Biden's term in office just because a federal judge says, oh, we're going to overturn the results of the election in the state. People could then say, well, if we get a couple of states to flip their votes, then Trump actually won the 2020 election. Therefore he gets to run again. He gets the third term because his term was nullified and he didn't get it. That's not how the system works. Even if all of the states in election results in 2020 were all overturned, and you got judges in those states to reverse the election results, that still does not equal Trump getting a third term in office. That's just not how the system works. They could nullify the election results, but that does not automatically mean Trump gets to run for a third time. They would have to change the Constitution for Trump. That most of the states would not allow him on the ballot. In fact, almost no states would allow him on the ballot a third time unless the Constitution was changed and allowed him to run for a third term in office. I understand the people who want the election results to be overturned. I'm with you because I think he was robbed. I think that the 2020 election was stolen. But I'm a realist, and I think we need to, for me personally, I need to ground myself in reality. I cannot spend my time on social media campaigning to get the results of the 2020 election overturned so that Trump can get a third term. That's not going to happen. I think there are more fruitful ways to spend our time. That's just me personally. So it's interesting to think about those issues from a hypothetical perspective, but in reality, I don't think any of that's going to happen.
Okay. So then my last question to you, Dave, thank you for all that. My last question is, so who do you think potentially could be the 2028? Would it be J.D. Vance, or who do you think would be good for that next spot?
It's J.D. Vance's race to lose. The latest poll that I saw has J.D. at 68% of the Republican support for 2028. I think everybody else is way down in the teens. I think Marco Rubio is at 3%. Don Jr. is even 8%. No one's even close to J.D. Vance right now. And JD's stock is only rising. All the memes, the J.D. Vance memes that are coming out on social media, JD has managed to hit a nerve with MAGA, and he is becoming a rock star within the MAGA culture. He just needs to keep doing that, keep standing up to the globalists, keep representing us well, and it's going to be his election to lose. And I think he's the heir apparent to in 2028.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Dave, for all that. It was really nice talking to you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for jumping on the live stream, Val.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Yes, it does, sort of. All right.
Say again, sorry?
So
it does.
Yeah, my perspective on dreams
Yes.
is that most dreams are not things we imagine in our imagination. Most dreams are spiritual experiences. Our spirit, when our body is asleep, our spirit can go and do things, can go travel places. Our spirit can fly. Our spirit can run fast. Our spirit can go places, do things. And I think you are experiencing, your spirit is traveling and doing things while you're asleep, and that's what you're seeing, you're experiencing in the dream. And the thing about the enemy trying to get access to your son, right? The enemy will always try to gain access to the ones we love if we're not wise. So that's probably just a little prompt for you to be careful in your relationship with your child, with your son.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I had another dream. So when I was younger, also I had sort of recurring dreams. I was sort of in this, and I don't know what this means, but I was in like a field, and there was this lady she was dressed in black, and she had long black hair, and she was on a black horse. And she was always just in the distance, like watching me, kind of thing. And I wondered, could that maybe be a familiar spirit, or I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. Some kind of demonic spirit. Whenever someone appears in a dream and they're predominantly in black, that is suggestive of a demonic, whether principality or demon or witch, perhaps, or someone in your could be a familiar spirit. It could be someone, a representation of someone in your family who is being controlled by an evil spirit. I had a dream years ago where I was in a building, and all of the colors were very dark in this dream, muted grays and blacks. And I met this woman, and she had black, the irises of her eyes were black, her skin was black, her hair was black, she was wearing black clothing. Like everything about this woman was black. And she led me down a hallway to a room where someone was there having dinner with, they were actually having dinner with Denise, my wife. And this whole dream was demonic. It was the person who was having dinner with Denise was trying to make me jealous. He was paying all this attention to Denise and ignoring me. I was supposed to be a guest, but no one was paying attention to me. And this guy was giving all this attention to my wife. It was kind of a typical demonic dream. Whenever you see someone dressed in black skin, black hair, black eyes, black nails, she had black fingernails. Very clearly a demonic figure of some kind. So yeah.
So what do I just pray about it and pray into it?
Yeah. Pray for wisdom. Pray that God will give you further insight into the meaning of those dreams. I'm jealous. I never get to fly in my dreams. I have dreams every night. The last time I was able to fly in a dream was probably 13 years ago. I had one flying dream, and people tell me, "Oh, I'm flying in the dream, and I'm doing this, and I'm going there." And I'm just like, I'm so jealous. I never get to fly in my dreams. But yeah, they're experiences in the spiritual world, and I would just embrace them and ask for more.
Okay. And like, because I'm always like, you have to taste the spirits, and I'm like, how do you just like trust that God's gonna guide you and lead you, or like when do I start worrying?
Well, don't worry ever. Worrying doesn't help. But yeah, if you get into a situation where you feel like there is a demonic presence that is trying to infiltrate, influence you, get some kind of power over you, create fear or anxiety or worry, pray against them. Sometimes it is good to exercise authority over demons and command them to leave. It depends on the situation. How you react is like with any person that comes along in your life. How you treat a particular person is going to be determined by how they're interacting with you. So I can't give you like a blanket statement saying you should always do this. It depends on the situation. And you're always welcome to email me if you have questions.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, can I just one last thing?
Yeah.
So my husband was out of town once, and I remember I was I had this dream of like this this guy was wearing like a scarf, and it was like a a dead dog kind of thing. But then it kind of came alive, and I kind of woke up, and I was in the bed alone. Well, my son was near me, but I was in the bed, and I actually felt the bed go down, like as
Ooh,
if it was, yes, as if it was like getting into
somebody
the
was
bed.
there. Yep.
Yes, but I couldn't see anything, obviously. And I just felt like I was in the half awake and half asleep, and I just started praying in tongues, and then I
Yep.
just went all the way to sleep. So, I mean, that's not very
Your
nice.
experience, yeah, your experiences are very similar to experiences that my wife Denise has had. She
Okay.
was laying on a couch one time taking a nap, and she wasn't quite asleep. She was in that halfway awake, halfway
Mm.
asleep thing. She saw people marching through our house, coming right next to her. She's laying on the couch, and she saw these men marching through the house. And then she felt someone sit on the couch next to her, where she was laying on the couch. She could
Yeah.
feel the weight, the impression go into the couch, and there was,
Yeah.
like in the natural, there was nobody there, but she felt someone sit next to her, right?
Yeah.
She
Exactly.
has felt it in bed. She's felt someone sit next to her in bed, and there was nobody there. Um, she has had literal out-of-body experiences where she has been laying in bed, and she has gotten up out of bed, walked around the bed, and looked and saw herself laying in bed while she's walking around the bedroom, chasing a demon down the hallway. Um, you're having very real spiritual experiences. You're not losing your mind.
Oh, good.
These are real spiritual experiences. Your spirit, and it for some reason it always happens, not always. It often happens in that period when our brain waves go down into a certain state where we're susceptible to dreams and visions and spiritual experiences. Right in that point where where you're not fully awake and you're not fully all the way asleep yet, you can have. I often have those demonic encounters right at that period. I actually got attacked by a paralyzing spirit years ago, right as I was waking up from a dream where I was going through a building and I was looking for something. And as soon as I began to awaken from the dream, I wasn't fully awake yet. This demon paralyzed me. I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. These experiences are all very real. They seem fantastic. They seem to be hallucinations. They're not. They're very real spiritual experiences in the spiritual world. And if you haven't read it yet, you might check out my book, Traveling in the Spirit Made Simple.
Thank you.
That book explains a lot of these experiences from a biblical standpoint.
Okay.
And there's a lot of testimonies in there, too, of various places people have traveled in the spirit and seen and done interesting things.
Thank you. Thanks. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Nice to know I'm not losing it.
You're not losing it, Andrea. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the live stream.
Thank you.
We have a troublemaker in the house, the notorious DOG. Are you here just to troll me, or are you going to say something nice and cool and friendly?
Well,
Or do you have a question?
I do have a question, and it's regarding angels. Seeing angels. I have been on this at this point, 4-year quest to seeing in the spirit, and I see dots instead of angels, but I know that they're angels. But I want to see the flowing and the wings, and like, am I doing something wrong, or am I so left brain that that's all I can handle?
You might be left brain.
Yeah.
I know what you do for a living. And some people who are left brain, more sort of clinical, analytical, logic oriented versus people who are more, I would say, creative and use their imagination a lot more. Those people sometimes have more visual experiences, visually startling experiences. Some of the left brain people, they see the little, the colored circles, the orbs and things like that. And like what is that? Like, well, that's an angel. Doesn't look like an angel. Like, well, that's how you see an angel. That's not how everybody sees angels. They look different to different people. So, oh gosh, angels, when I see them, they can appear differently. I often see sort of what looks like a beam of light that is a certain color, like a purple beam of light or a blue beam of light, just a faint ray of light that's vertical. And what I noticed is that it wasn't there a minute ago, and now it is there. And I don't normally see them with my eyes open. Normally I close my eyes, and then I take just a minute to empty my mind of all the junk that's in the physical world and try to focus on what I see in the spiritual world. And that's when I start to see these rays of light. Sometimes I see orbs, little glowing or sort of colored circles of lights. But what I will tell you is, and you probably know this, as you practice this over time, it's likely that your spiritual vision is going to increase. Because I'm sure 4 years ago, you didn't see anything like this at all.
Correct.
And so you're moving in a direction. It's a trajectory. And if you just keep going and keep practicing, you will eventually start to see more interesting things, I think.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Colin Green, if you can unmute yourself, what's up?
Hey, I just want to first of all say thanks for all you do and really appreciate all your work. My question is finances, I guess. I've heard some people talking about personal debt resets and QFS and NESARA. Just curious your thoughts on those. I know Trump at one point talked about like a year of Jubilee, and so I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever heard Trump talk about a year of Jubilee. He has been talking a lot about a golden age.
Yeah.
The golden age of America. And the context of that discussion with respect to Trump and his economic advisors is they believe that they're going to be able to increase the productivity, increase jobs, increase wealth through elimination of taxes, through the administration of tariffs and things of that nature. I've never heard Trump talk about anything related to a personal erasure of debt. And every LARPing internet intelligence insider out there on social media is trying to con people into believing that the quantum financial system is coming, NESARA is coming, GESARA is coming, going to wipe out all your debt. Here's how the plan works. If you invest your money here in this, you're going to be one of the people who's going to make a lot of money, and all your debt's going to be wiped out, and it's all going to be taken care of. Most of those people are con men and grifters and scammers. I don't believe there's any legitimacy to QFS, NESARA, or GESARA, or any of those similar related plans. They're all being pushed by people who are con men and grifters. I would love it if there would be just an erasure of all private debt, where we just get all of our accounts zeroed out. We don't owe anything on our house. We don't owe anything on car payments, school loans, have it all zeroed out. I don't think that's living in the real world. I think that's living in a fantasy world. That said, I think that we're going to be coming into prosperous times. If Trump can get his economic agenda through Congress, if he can get a balanced budget, if he can make these things happen that he wants to happen, I think we're all going to be blessed. I don't believe in the erasure of personal debt. I haven't seen anything concrete and solid that leads me to believe that's actually going to happen.
Thanks for all your work. Appreciate it.
Yep, you betcha. Okay, it is. Oh, look, it's 1 o'clock, and we've been on the live stream for 2 hours. So we're going to end it there. Thank you all for jumping on the live stream. Thank you for the questions. I sometimes get a little long, a little verbose in my answers, but I want to give people good information. I want to give them as much information as I can without beating a dead horse, hopefully. Yeah, thank you all for participating. Kazuko, thank you for staying up until it's got to be 5 o'clock in the morning now in Japan where you are. So thank you for joining us on the live stream. Have some coffee, my sister. You need it, and keep praying for those people and setting them free. All right, that's going to wrap for this episode of Supernatural Saturday. If you want to catch the replay because you didn't get all the live stream, the replay will be available in the Telegram channel later this afternoon. I'll have to do some editing. It'll be available on Rumble later today, prayingmedic.com, prayingmedic.org. If you have a prayer request or a question that wasn't answered, email me through one of the websites. Latest book, Meshtastic Made Simple, is out. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other ebook retailer outlets. Let's see, that is going to do it. Please keep me and Denise in prayer. Keep President Trump in prayer. Love you all. Take care. I will catch you on the next broadcast.